Canon, are you playing or grinding away at the moment?
At the moment, I'm not playing any games, but I have played two spin and goes earlier. They were just $1 spin and goes. Each one was more than the actual prize itself. Like example, instead of registering for $1 and then you win $2, I won a $6 and then I also won a $10 spin and go. And then I headed out the door to go shopping.
That's very nice. I haven't played many spin and goes myself lately. I picked up again. I saw you liked it on Facebook. I started doing the cowboy challenge again.
Oh wow, that is the 45-man sit and go challenge, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's when I joined Poker School Online first back in 2011. We had a trainer called Hanu, who was Chris. Hanu, the cowboy. What was his name? Hanu 60 something?
Yeah, I think it was 19 Hanu 67 or 62. Yes,
62.
it was something like that. Yes.
So yeah, Chris was a great guy. Chris used to run this thing called the Cowboys Challenge at Poker School Online, where you'd play. So you'd pick whatever sit and go you want, and you'd pick the buy-in you want. So at the time, I used to play the 25-cent 45-man sit and goes, and you'd start your challenge with was it 25? It was 25 buy-ins. So for 25-cent games, that was $6.25, and you had to keep playing until you either doubled your bankroll up to $12.50, or you played 100 games, or you go bust. So those are the three outcomes that could possibly happen. If you doubled your bankroll, you successfully completed the challenge. If you reached the 100 games, which I did do it on two occasions, out of the $6.25, 25 buy-ins, reached the 100 games, and then of course it went bust as well on a few occasions. But it's a great challenge, and it teaches a lot of discipline and a lot about bankroll management, and it really does help improve your game. So
Yes, it certainly does. I was frequently visiting the Cowboy Challenge threads. In fact, a lot of the fellow community members that I had in Skype groups, they were taking it up a few years back in, what was it, 2012, 2013. And they've since moved on from the challenge because it does teach you one of the most crucial points of poker, and that's bankroll management. The majority of these individuals, they started out playing the Open Skill League games.
yep.
And they were able to build up their bankroll from the Open League, from the monthly prizes, and then they built up a sufficient bankroll to where they could play the 25 cents 45-man sit and goes and then double it from there. So they were taking all of the experience and knowledge they acquired from the Open Skill Leagues, and they applied it to those 45-man sit and goes. And on top of that, the knowledge they acquired from Hanu during his live training sessions and some of the videos from his archive. And that helped, I believe, improve their learning curve, or it fastened their learning curve. They built a bankroll and moved up. I've seen individuals that took up the challenge go from playing 9-max to heads up hypers. That's how fast they were able to grow as a poker player. They went from playing like Tide is Right to playing the loosest format of poker is heads up.
In the hypers.
Yes, the hypers, they are hyper, they're swingy, but it's a completely different format than 9-max. Hand ranges, table dynamics, player dynamics, tendencies, hand ranges, I mean, just everything.
But at the time, like back in 2011, I was completely new to the game, and as well as Hanu's training and all the other live trainers at the school. At the time, there was also those Space Gravy videos. Do you remember those Space Gravy videos for sit and goes?
Oh yes, I've watched just about every one of his videos, especially for 9-max.
Some great videos, and like he had the sit and go series for beginners, and that I found that really helped me improve my game in terms of learning about hand ranges and starting hands, and how to play maybe tighter at the start of a tournament, and then loosen up as the blinds get shorter and you get more deeper into the tournament. Little things like that if it wasn't for the resources of those videos and having them there, it would take you years to find out by yourself.
Yes, you know, there is that quote, poker, what was the quote? It's something like, poker takes a lifetime to learn, or excuse me, it takes a minute.
Yeah,
it's like something. It takes a minute to master,
poker takes it can take a few minutes to learn, but a lifetime to master.
Yes, there you go. That's the one.
I'm
That's
not
the
sure
one.
who said that. Was that one of Doyle Brunson's, or I know somebody like that said that.
Yes, I think that was Brunson's, and this is, you know, this is way back before online poker. Let's put it this way, you know, a lifetime. For instance, if a poker player started playing poker in like the 70s and then, you know, they got to the 90s, like how many actual hands would they have seen playing X amount of times per week or per month? But online, you know, you could put in a 5 consecutive day grind of 5 hours and see thousands of hands, and if you do that and keep up that pace for 1 year straight, you're seeing just as many hands as somebody that has played poker on the live felts for like 10 or 15 years.
That's very true.
So you're seeing so many different situations and scenarios and circumstances. Yes, and I think that's
another great
go ahead.
another great saying that I picked up somewhere along the line, and I know I haven't got this 100% right yet either, but the quote was something like, "Poker is not a game of cards played by people. It's a game of people that just happens to be played with cards." And I thought that was a neat saying as well.
Yes, that is true. That is true, and I believe the entire dynamic is actually shifted towards playing the actual players itself. If you're to look at the people that use or frequently use hoods or HUDs, these HUDs, they have all these different percentages, you know, like VPIP, 3-bet percentages, pre-flop raise percentages, steal percentages, the amount of times that they actually play a hand, their showdown percentage, and they've broken it down into all these different percentages where you can pretty much just be mathematically sound the majority of the time and just be right. And, you know, you're just playing the numbers at the same time, board textures and everything else. And that's one thing that Space Gravy was able to not just illustrate via his videos, but he also elaborated on it several times. And, you know, it's actually been a while since I've seen him play. If I remember correctly, he's not on Team Online anymore, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's on Team Online anymore. I think he would have left maybe, I think, well over a year ago. But you're right, I haven't heard much about him at all, either on Twitter or in any of the poker news forums or anything like that. He's just kind of disappeared a bit.
Yes, you know, before he started out with 9max, then these are sit and goes, you know, to the listeners out there. He started out with 9max regular speed sit and goes, and he transitioned into turbo. Then he eventually went to 6max regular speed, then 6max turbos, and he's won over $1 million just playing sit and goes. Started out playing, you know, a very modest stake of like a $15 or $20 buy-in way back before 2010. You know, during the era of 2008, 2009, 2010. Then he ventured into Heads Up. Yeah, Heads Up Turbos, and then eventually Heads Up Hypers. That's where we just ended up finding him throughout the last year or so of his stay on TM Online, the roster. I was seeing him play cap Heads Up cash games, Heads Cash, and just nothing but Heads Up only. And I think what he was saying is, you know, the games have changed dramatically, the dynamic from mid stakes up to high stakes. You know, the reg to poker aficionado ratio has changed a lot.
Yeah, he's a talent though, Space Gravy. But you know, poker players do come and go, and some of them are very active online, and then they decide, like another guy was Lex Veldis. He decided to take a break for a while, and I see him back at the tables now again, both live and online. So you know, sometimes maybe a break is just what's needed to refresh and recharge the batteries.
Yes, and he has acquired Supernova Elite status. That being Lex Veldhaus. He's playing nothing but PLO. I think he's playing primarily stakes of PLO 400, PLO 500, PLO 200, and he's mass tabling those. I've seen him playing upwards to 20 tables at a time, a PLO.
Is PLO still a game of it's a game of the nuts?
Yes, it's a game of the nuts. It's also, it's basically like Isildur once put it. It's Hold'em plus 2 cards. When it comes to the combinatorics, there's going to be more combinations of starting hands. However, when it comes to showdown ranges, you're able to utilize, your blockers to the nuts the majority of the time. Because, it's unlikely they're holding, like example, say you're holding the ace of spades on a board that presents a flush. There's 3 spades on board. So that drastically reduces the combos that they have of spade. However, that doesn't eliminate the possibility, depending on their tendencies, they could be calling, with a jack high flush or better. Most of the time, 10 high flushes, 9 high flushes, or any other mediocre flush is going to be mucked, depending on the bet sizing and how big the actual pot is. But yes, it still is a game about the nuts, without a doubt. Very rarely are you ever going to get to showdown light unless you're playing heads up, because the starting hand requirements, at 6 max and 9 max PLO isn't even really played that much. It's mostly just 6 max if you're to look in the game client. You have to be very strict on your starting hand requirements. I mean, a solid PLO player is going to be playing just a tad bit over 30% of their hands. And the lowest would probably be like 25%, which would be considered, like a lag in Hold'em. But could you imagine playing 30% of the hands that you're dealt, no matter what table you're at? I mean,
yeah,
you're going to see a lot of action, and of course you're going to put yourself in a lot of tougher spots. But there's a lot of other variables to take into consideration when transitioning from Hold'em to PLO. And first off would be what you would normally play in Hold'em, like aces, kings, queens, jacks, are going, even though those are good hands from an equity standpoint just on the flop, depending on how the flop actually peels off. If it's a really draw-heavy board, or it presents a lot of different draws, or even made hands, you could be a significant underdog to a draw. So you just got to be very careful with playing aces, kings, and queens. But PLO has been gaining a lot of popularity over the course of the past few years. Initially, I remember just looking at the micro games, and there would be like 10 or 15 and 20 games going, but now you look at the client, and during peak hours, there could be upwards to 50 or 70 micro stakes games, and that's not even including low, mid, or high stake games. There's probably well over 100 at a time. I'm just curious to see how the landscape evolves throughout the next few quarters.
God like Roy Bashan is another guy that plays a lot of PLO.
Yes, we actually had him on one of the PSO podcasts.
That's right.
Just last year. I've been viewing his Twitter. He's still keeping a bit active, but I'm curious, how he's doing. Maybe he'd like to come back on the podcast for another guesting.
Yeah, absolutely. We lost another player from the tournament just there while we were chatting away. The Happy Sap, a fellow Irishman, got busted out. So
yes, I remember Happy Sap.
Blinds are getting fairly deep now, where blinds are up at 200, 100 with an ante at 25. So
yes, and what's your stack at?
Yeah,
I have to refresh the stream.
Stack at the moment is at about 6,000. So 530. You could say maybe 28 big blinds.
Yes, you still have a very healthy stack to play some poker. It's not red flag moment just yet. Once it starts to dip below about, I'd say, 14-ish big blinds, it should prompt you. If we have streamers that are, if we have listeners that are actually playing the game, viewing your stream, I might as well just shut my mouth.
No, it's okay. It's all good.
Yeah.
That's why we're here. We're all here to learn.